All Cooper CPAs, located in the heart of East Nashville, offer a wide variety of tax services for individuals and businesses. Contact them at 615-257-0646 and visit their website, allcooper.com, for a full list of services.
Microcasting for your city. Talkopolis.
And welcome back, everybody, to Political Soup. Joe Williams, Crum Carmichael, Chip Forrester. Chip, more movement by the president on the issue of guns.
Well, we saw him introduce 23 executive orders. There are a whole series of Crum, stop chuckling over there. And a lot of them are very substantive in terms of increasing the ability to do effective background checks. And also a couple of them deal with mental health, the agencies working together. So the president stepped up and issued 23 executive orders. I can go through them all if you want, but at least that's the first step towards addressing gun violence.
And if I told you solving problems like this through executive orders makes me nervous, what would you say?
Well, the thing about these executive orders is they do not trample the Second Amendment. They are constitutionally valid by all the attorneys that have looked at it. So, but any effective change in our gun laws will be required to come through the United States Congress. And the president has offered proposals through Joe Biden and the group that met over the last couple of weeks to do that.
Let me just say this.
Here we go.
Okay. This whole thing about gun stuff and registration and all this is just the silliest thing in the world. Let me tell you why. There's a guy named Mike Thompson. Mike Thompson is a Democrat from California. He has been selected by Obama to be chairman of the Gun Violence Prevention Task Force. So that's this task force that's supposed to come up with recommendations. He wrote an article in the Wall Street Journal. He himself wrote it, or at least it has his name on it. And he says this: in 2010, there were 9 categories of people who could not own a gun. Okay? At the federal level. The FBI reported 76,000 cases of suspected people who shouldn't own a gun to the Bureau of the people who are supposed to investigate it.
Bureau of Tobacco and Alcohol.
They prosecuted 44. 44 out of 76,000. That's how many they prosecuted. Now, this is going to be kind of like Obamacare being turned over to the IRS to try to adjudicate that. Be the biggest cluster you've ever seen. It'll just be a mess. Now you have, in 2010, Bush wasn't in office, so you can't blame Bush. Obama was in office, 76,000 reports by the FBI, 44 prosecutions. And now what they want to do is build a database to 150 million people. It's just going to be absolutely stupid.
What are you saying, Crum? That the fact that they only prosecuted 44 cases is that's not enough prosecution, or that the 44 were ridiculous to prosecute? The point is there are not the resources. Part of the executive orders that he signed last week are to bring resources to be able to do this, to have a more effective national background check system.
And that's money. More money.
It's actually the dollars are not significant.
Wait, hold on. Define not significant.
Well, I mean, when you're talking about the programs, that the background check program, and inefficiencies in it, and what these executive orders, and I've gone through some of them. I've not read all 23. They are to enhance that system and make it more effective nationally, and to close loopholes, and to make it work as a national database. But the point is, it's a step. Listen, nothing is. In many ways, this is a Band-Aid on a pretty big wound. So the question is, at least he's taking steps forward to clean up a system with executive orders that don't trample on the Second Amendment.
It is.
So you don't think he should have done any of this? This is just all silly?
I haven't read the 23 executive orders. What I've looked at is his performance in 2010, and this is based on a Democrat who he selected to run this commission. And this Democrat is pointing out that the laws we have on the books now are so ineffective. 44 out of 76,000, Chip, I think even you would agree, that's a pretty low percentage.
Well, but the question is to not have the resources to prosecute them? I don't know the details.
And you said it's not going to cost much money to do what you want to do, and what I'm simply saying is that to force 150 million people to register is going to be either expensive.
It's not forcing. Wait a second. Wait. It's not forcing 150 million. It's if people want to have access to firearms, they're going to register.
What about the 150 million people who already have them? Are they going to have to register?
Right. Well,
okay, so they're going to be forced to register.
No, okay. No, I'm coming out of the woodwork here because, there's basically, and yes, I know this is an NRA tagline, but there's only two reasons for the national government to want me to register my firearms, and it's either to tax them or take them. Now, I've tried to be calm. I've got a little problem when you're telling me that Washington should know that I've got my grandfather's .22 rifle that's 60-something years old, but still very effective on a target course. None of your business, to an extent. I mean, for the rest of them, I have passed all the requirements. My background's been checked.
Joe, it's real simple. Take your guns and put them in your bedroom, because Democrats won't go in your bedroom. Anything you want to do in your bedroom, you can do, because they want to protect your privacy in your bedroom. Anything you want to do. So clean your guns in your bedroom. Keep them in your bedroom. You won't have to register them.
Okay, you got the floor.
Oh, I don't know. I'm not going to. He's just having fun. He's just loving
Well, it's because it's so stupid. These Democrats who say we've got to do something. Well, let me say this. It is possible in order to do something that you do something really stupid. And that's what this is. That's what this is. Trying to make 150 million people register their handguns is foolish. Now, let's look what they've done in New York. They've got all this legislation now about semi-automatic. And you know what? The way the media reports it, you'd think semi-automatic was a machine gun. Mm-hmm. Semi-automatic is you just simply have to pull the trigger.
Well, it's an AR-15. I mean,
no, it's a handgun.
It's a .22 rifle. My grandfather gave me.
A .22 rifle is considered semi-automatic if you just have to pull the trigger to make.
But it's got a magazine that has more than one bullet in it. It's a multiple.
It holds 15 shells.
I'm simply saying it ain't a machine gun.
And one of the things he's talking about is reducing the magazines to a maximum of 10 shells in a magazine.
Well, that's when the devil's in the detail on that. I mean,
then they use terms like military style weapon.
That's the AR-15.
No. Well, yeah, but military style weapon means aesthetically it looks like it. It doesn't perform like it, but it looks like it. And so all of a sudden now you've got all of these guns out there. And by the way, there are hunting rifles that look like a military gun, except they aren't. But they look like it. And so now all of a sudden they're going to be outlawed because they look like it. And so for those people who say Obama is not trying to get your guns, they're just simply wrong. And Chip, if you don't think Obama's trying to get people's guns, I apologize. You're just simply wrong.
Even if it's not direct.
And it ain't going to happen because there's a bunch of Democrat senators, like Joe Manchin. He's the guy that came out and said 30 clips is ridiculous. 2 days later, he was supporting the NRA. Because he got a bunch of telephone calls from people in West Virginia saying, Joe, you're not taking my gun.
So you've come at this discussion, which we've had a couple times on this show, from analyzing what the president's doing and what Joe Biden's doing, and it's all silly. The question I challenge you on is, we have a problem in our country. We had children who were killed. Mm-hmm. What solutions are you offering? What are you putting on the table? At least the president has stepped up and addressed this and done it quickly. Because there's a problem in our country with this kind of violence. So and in here there are 2 or 3 of the executive orders that specifically address the mental health issue that you and I've talked about, and we see as the underlying sort of the root cause of the problem. It's crazy people that are getting these weapons and doing this, not regular people. And the background checks and the analysis of that is for that. But my question is, what do you want to do? All you are doing is telling us that the president's executive orders and the plan that he has is ridiculous, but I don't hear anything on your side as to what you would do to address this problem.
Okay, 2 things. As far as schools are concerned, fire a bureaucrat and hire a security guard. That's number 1. Okay. Number 2, instead of...
So you support the NRA, that's the NRA's fundamental position.
They don't want to fire a bureaucrat. I want to fire a bureaucrat. Okay. I'm not trying to figure out how to spend more money.
Okay.
But I know this, that the school budgets are bloated with a bunch of wasteful bureaucrats. Fire them and hire a security guard. Okay. That's number 1 for schools. Number 2, I'd rather spend the money on mental health than trying to identify, track down, and keep track of 150 million law-abiding citizens. There's a small number of mentally ill people. You don't need to go after 150 million to go after that. So rather than
if you don't start with knowing the 150 million within that population is where that small group of crazy people are.
Not necessarily.
They're within that population. I mean, how are you going to?
Then identify the crazy people first, Chip. Not go after the 150 million.
The problem is that the difficulty in identifying the crazy people to begin with. That's where the mental health component.
I disagree. I disagree. Most of these people who have committed these these heinous crimes
Right.
and these crazy crimes, they had mental health problems that were known. They had mental health problems that were known, but because of our privacy, nobody could tell anybody.
But also because of the way the gun laws, the
No.
gun registration laws, they could get weapons that they shouldn't have gotten.
The guy at the
That's
j-
what these executive orders are addressing.
And Chip, a crazy person will get the guns.
Well, there's always going to it's
a
like
crazy person
although
will
we've
get
been
the
pretty good.
guns.
We've kept bombs off of airplanes. We've done a pretty good job with Homeland Security. So that's obviously worked. What's interesting to me too is that you approach that. You look at the sort of national background check system. We have the same thing with all of us who get on an airplane. We have basically eliminated the risk in flying in terms of being blown up by Al Qaeda or whoever's going to take the plane up. Not perfect, but there hadn't been one. We haven't had any problems recently. So that same system that none of us particularly like, taking our belts and shoes and everything off, it has accomplished something positive. This is addressing that same sort of addressing the problem in the same way a national database. And I don't see it. I mean, with the executive orders and what they're talking about, creating efficiencies and ability to do that, is all that wrong?
They're not even close to being the same, Chip. If they were going to be the same, then you would have people who would be searched if they were getting on a public bus. You would have people being searched if they were getting on the subway. You would have you would set up a bureaucracy that would break down. At least at an airport, you can funnel people through, and it's a relatively small number of people compared to the population. How many people travel out of Nashville a day? 10,000? That's not 600,000 or 1 million, and you're trying to track them all. And this is what I'm saying. There's some things that are just absolutely stupid, and this is absolutely stupid.
I'm not sure I'll go that far.
It is.
But it's my fear of unintended consequences.
Well, I don't disagree that the devil is in the details, and there's a big plan here.
Let's face it. I'm here from the government. I'm here to help you. Does not
make you feel warm.
Make you feel warm and fuzzy, and that's from somebody who's been in the position to have to say that to people before.
Yeah,
it doesn't make you feel good to go out and say that because you know that's not going to get a good response.
There are 8 Democrats in the Senate who are up for re-election in 2 years. So let's see if they vote along with this national database in those 8 states. They will not win re-election if they do. And I just think it's going to be humorous.
Well, I'm not certain about that.
They won't say a word, Chip. Mary Landrieu hadn't said a word. Mark Pryor in Arkansas hadn't said a word. That person up there in the Dakotas hadn't said a word. Backus out in Montana, twiddling his thumb. Even Al Franken, crazy Al Franken, he won't say anything about guns because the people of Minnesota like to have their guns and they like to have their privacy.
Yep.
And Al Franken's sitting up there twiddling his thumbs right past the graveyard. So I hope he does come out in favor of strict gun control, registration, all that stuff, because I'd like to be rid of him in 2 years.
You know, the thing that may be sad in all this is what prompted this was that terrible tragedy at Newtown, which is what's reinvigorated this argument. It wasn't the 300-400 murders in Chicago. It wasn't the children on the streets in Memphis who just happened to be at the wrong place at the wrong time. That don't happen. Yeah, that was, that's just 1 or 2. You get 20, it's a different story. Why? We've got to get control.
And Joe,
understanding all the way
let's
around.
just be clear. Do you think the criminals in Chicago are going to go register their gun?
That's my point. You think the crazy folks are,
No, they're not crazy. They're just criminals.
Well,
do you think they're going to register? Do you think the
when
criminals?
we talk about the mental health aspect.
Well, no. That's why I'm saying you don't identify people who have guns who have mental health problems. You identify people who have mental health problems and then keep them from getting guns. I'd rather spend my money on that.
Well, the other point too, in any sort of social policy discussion, there's a tipping point. And what happens when these great tragedies happen, it pushes the issue to a tipping point. And we are at a tipping point. And I'd say, the NRA hurt themselves when they came out with the sort of hardline position that they took. And the American people are in favor. They're probably like every other regular person out there, not understanding all the details, but they're in favor of doing something. And the president, with Joe Biden's leadership, have stepped up and offered 23 executive orders and a plan to Congress. And we'll see what Congress does. We'll see what happens in the next.
Even in Obamacare, there's a section in Obamacare that prohibits doctors and nurses from asking people about
And you have not read the 23 executive orders because it says, it specifically addresses that in one of the executive orders right here, number 17. I can't find the one. Oh, here's, clarify that Affordable Care Act does not prohibit doctors asking their patients about guns in their home.
Actually, there's language in, and
he addresses that.
In the next show, I'll bring in the language that he says he's now by executive order trying to change. Now, here's what's interesting about Obama. A piece of legislation passes the way it's supposed to in this country. He then later decides, I don't like that legislation. So he writes an executive order nullifying the legislation.
Wait. It's not the legislation, it is the regulations that the president has the right to change by executive order. The legislation, this change, let's be clear, we pass legislation, and then we have departments, whether you like them or not, I know as a Republican you'd like to get rid of all of them. These departments promulgate rules and regulations that operate. That's what Obama, and so from Obamacare, we passed the Affordable Care Act, and it's a big book, 1,900 pages or whatever, and then there are probably 3,000 or 4,000 pages of regulations.
13,000 so far.
Okay, 13,000 so far, thank you. I mean, we can argue philosophically, but the point is the president does have a right to change by executive order those regulations, not the law. So I just want to be clear on that.
I'll bring in the section of the law that prohibits it. Not some regulator writing it.
Okay, I'd like to see that. I disagree with you till I see that.
All right.
All right. It is time to separate these two for a few more days. Let them go back to their respective corners and get reloaded. Gentlemen, as always, a very lively show.
Right on target, Joe.
Right on target.
I've been waiting for that one.
Right on target, baby.
Groms are funny.
Oh, me.
Man, what a great one. Listen, we want to thank you for joining us for Political Soup. For Crom Carmichael, Chip Forrester, I'm Joe Williams. Hopefully we'll see you the next time, or hopefully you'll see us. It's, with these two.
Yeah, we can't see them.
I'm not sure I'm ever going to make it back, so hopefully you'll see me the next time. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you next time.